on the News Channel 5 network. This is the plus side of Nashville.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm DeWanda Coleman. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, there's so many organizations doing incredible work on a daily basis, trying to help those who often cannot help themselves. One such organization is Feed America First. Like many, they believe that no one in America should go hungry. Each month, they distribute over 900,000 pounds of food and help feed 35,000 families. Here to tell us more is the founder and executive director of Feed America First, Tom Henry, along with Mike Womack, who's the director of operations. Welcome to you both.
We're excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and thank you for the great work that you've been doing for quite some time now. If you would, Tom, talk about the organization, your mission, and why it was founded.
Okay. We founded Feed America First with the mission to provide food to those who feed the hungry. What we saw, I had a partner at the time, Don Herbert, who's since passed away, but what we saw was that almost all the food support was going into metropolitan areas. That made a lot of sense because there's a high density population in need. There's a lot of there's short attention. There's short transportation lines, short funding lines, and it's easier to be effective in that kind of closed model. Yet that's only 50 plus, just over 50% of the poverty in the United States. The rest of it is harder to get to in rural and small towns. In analyzing the marketplace, we found that all the big charities that we knew of at that time were focused on the metropolitan areas. So we felt like we could, instead of reinventing the wheel, we'd just go to areas that needed service that weren't getting it. And so our focus became rural and small town America. So that's the direction that we've gone in, and I'm proud to say that we're beginning our 20th year here in June.
That is pretty impressive.
It is, and we're a long way from the back of my pickup truck in the back of a grocery store.
Is that how it started?
Yeah. When I felt called to do this, I was running restaurants. I'd been running restaurants for 30 years, and I just felt like I needed to do something more significant. My family is terrific. At that time, I had 3 girls in college, and my wife of 40 years. And I'd had a lot of success, but I felt like I needed to do something more significant. And so I started doing something I'd never done before, which is volunteering. I had written checks, I'd held fundraisers for other charities, but I'd never volunteered my own time. And once I started offering that, it's like a different world opened up to me. I saw the dimensions of hunger. I saw so much of the help that was going on, and my partner and I decided that we could use I had 30 years of business experience with restaurants. He had 30 years in logistics and supply chain management, and we could use those business skills to try to develop a distribution network. Because the basic equation that we found was that at that time there were 48 or 50 million people that were food insecure, meaning they weren't sure where the next meal was coming from, and they weren't sure when they had to make that decision between, do I buy medicine, do I pay the light bill, do I feed my kids, do I pay my rent? Those are horrible decisions for parents to have to make. And yet, at the same time, we found that, according to the source that I use, American Wasteland, 40% of the food produced in the United States ends up in the landfill. Now, we feed people all over the world, as we should, as the richest nation ever. Yet, we can't find a way to distribute that wholesome food to people in need. And then when you break it down to lifestyle choices, what about children? They haven't had those choices. And should a child be punished by going to school hungry? Kids who go to school hungry can't learn at the same rate. They're being handicapped from the very beginning. And so we felt like if we could insert our business acumen in between that supply and that demand and try to get some of that food shuffled out into the hinterlands, then maybe we could have an impact on that. The other aspect that we thought was so important was that community needs, our neighbors need to help each other. It's biblical that we help our neighbors. And if when you're in a time of need, a neighbor comes to you and offers you a loaf of bread, that has huge importance, and it makes quite a statement about grace and hope and faith. And if we could foster that by distributing food through neighbors, we felt like we could have a different impact on hunger than maybe the top-down approach that the government takes has had. So that's our basic modus operandi. We look for small agencies in rural towns, rural counties, small towns, and find people, because in every town I've ever been to, there's somebody helping their neighbors. There's somebody who's walked a mile in those shoes. They've been hungry, or they've been in a shelter, or they've had substance abuse problems and needed help. But there's somebody in that neighborhood, in that community, that's helping. If we can find them who are already engaged with the neighbors and know whose needs are legitimate, if we can provide them food, then they're going to have a bigger impact in their community. And so, in a nutshell, that's what Feed America First is really about.
I see. Well, in 20 years, you all have certainly distributed a large amount of food. Where does this food come from, Mike?
We are blessed with some awesome partners. I'm almost hesitant to talk about names because there's so many of our partners that really poured a lot to us, but it's where these manufacturers either overproduce or things gets close to date and they need to move them. They will give us a call, we'll go pick them up, or if it's a large amount, we'll send a tractor trailer to pick it up and bring it back to our warehouse. But we have some phenomenal partners that just continue. We can't give it away fast enough.
Wow.
So it's an awesome problem to have, to be honest with you.
It is an awesome problem to have. You're based out of Murfreesboro, but you cover a large range of the area. Talk about what area of this city, of Nashville and of Tennessee, that you cover.
If you were to take a circle, and if you were to take 200 miles around Murfreesboro, you would get somewhat in the circumference of what we carry, or what we take to. We cover northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, middle Tennessee, sometimes southern Kentucky, some in Georgia. We go as far as Birmingham, Atlanta area with some of the partners that we have in those areas. And we have different programs that will hit different things.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's the main areas that we cover.
Well, how is the food sorted and then distributed? Do you have volunteers come in once a month, once a week, every day? How does the food actually get sorted and then go on from there?
Yes, on volunteers. Almost every day.
Almost every day.
We can't survive without our volunteers, and we can never have too many.
Okay.
So if you or anyone wants to volunteer, we would love to have you do that. All you have to do is go to feedamericafirst.com and check in with our volunteer coordinator, who's Julie Vandal, and she'll hook you up. But there's always something to do. But on Wednesday nights, she has large groups that will come and break down food from some grocery warehouses that will bring stuff to us that maybe was damaged in transportation or something like that. All that comes in bulk, so it has to be broken down,
taken out of boxes,
the boxes
and put
are damaged. The food is tagged.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, and then also on the third Thursday of every month, we have a food distribution in Murfreesboro from 9 to 11. Gives people an opportunity to actually come in front of a pallet and put food on a truck that's coming through that represents a ministry that are going out to feed the hungry.
Wow.
We service somewhere every Thursday, whether it be in Clarksville, Tennessee, Madison, Alabama, Cookeville, Tennessee. The names just keep going. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we have a perishable ministry where ministries all over our area. We have about 15 to 20 that will come each day, and they will show up at our warehouse from between 6 and noon, and they'll pick up somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds of food and take it back to where the work really begins, because they're actually the ones that are feeding the hungry.
Right. I've seen like tractor trailers or big trucks backed up filled with pallets that have to be offloaded, then somehow sorted into different categories, and then volunteers go through and then sort all of that.
Right.
So it can be quite a long process.
It can be.
But you've got great volunteers to help you with that.
Great volunteers.
Well, Mike modestly is not pointing out that our staff is only 9. We're doing all this with 9 people. And so we do rely a lot on volunteers. Now we have the great advantage. We've been really blessed in this last year to be in a new warehouse. 4 years ago now, we had outgrown the warehouse that we were in. And I went to our landlord, Robert Stroop, and whom I love, and I said, Robert, I love being your tenant, but we need a bigger warehouse, and can you help me find one? He said, let me build you what you want.
He built it for you?
He built it for us. He said, how many feet do you need? We need 20,000 square feet, and what are you willing to pay? And I told him that, and he said, okay, I'll build it for you, and then in 10 years it'll be yours.
Oh, wow.
And so we were able to lay it out exactly like we wanted it, and the advantage of that is that operationally we are very, very efficient, which allows our staff of 9, this year we're going to give away 15 million pounds of food, and that allows our staff of 9 to be able to process that.
Wow.
One of the important things about volunteers, if not the most important thing about volunteers, when you think about the biblical mandate to feed the hungry, that doesn't mean you have to go find the hungry or go find the food. All you have to do is affiliate with somebody that's doing that, and that's what we do. When we go back to the concept of neighbors helping neighbors, if volunteers come to our warehouse and find out that they can stand there over a pallet of sweet potatoes, putting them in a bag, knowing that every bag of sweet potatoes is a family that's going to be helped, they can stand there for 3 or 4 hours and chat with their friends and help thousands of families in the course of that day.
Yeah.
So those volunteers are important to us, because when you leave there, what I find is there's a metamorphosis that happens in the attitudes of those volunteers. They came in not knowing what to expect, not knowing anything about hunger, but they leave understanding, I made a difference today in my community, that hunger is a big intractable problem worldwide, yet I did something today in my community. And so we love having volunteers.
You are exactly right. Well, we want to learn more about Feed America First, but we got to take a break first. And we'll be back with more right after this.